What's up, fam? How y'all doing? It's Fam Matters here with Dr. Jessica Brown. What's up?
Hey y'all.
That's all you got? Your
Once
energy is
again,
terrible. That was horrible. That
listen,
was
here's what
horrible.
you all
You
need
were
to
like,
know about us as a sibling pair. He is a night owl and he gets up at like noon.
that is not true. That
I
is not true. It's not noon.
okay, 10:30. He gets up really late to me. Like by the time he wakes up,
Yeah.
I've already been up several hours. So
No.
we usually
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm not going to interrupt.
so we usually record earlier in the day because your girl hits a crash at about 4 p.m. and it actually doesn't go away until the next day after I've slept.
Yeah.
So we've been trifling and we haven't recorded in a long time. So we need to like get it together. So we're recording like the sun is down.
Yeah. And I
And
started. I'm like, I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
correct. He's getting amped up and I'm drinking a caffeinated beverage at
Yes.
almost 8 p.m.
Yeah. And bedtime for my kids because you're well, first of all, she's Dr. Jessica Brown.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
Dr. Emmett Young. We're both
Dr.
Dr.
Emmett Young the third.
the
Don't forget
third.
the
I'm sorry,
third,
the
because there are
third.
many other Emmett Youngs in the
There are
world,
many other Emmett
all
Young.
esteemed, but there's only one the third.
So I'm certainly not esteemed. This is Fan Matters, where we talk about faith and mess. We crazy. We like to just matter of fact, like tonight, we don't even have an actual topic.
We
We are
have no
just
idea. We're
you all
literally winging it.
you all are, as we continue to say, if you're riding with us, and we appreciate all the love that you all have shown us on Facebook and other podcast platforms, the YouTube. We appreciate all that, but you're literally just listening in on a conversation that we would normally have.
Correct.
And that's what it is.
Correct.
So
We
don't
have no
forget,
idea what we're going to talk about today.
hit us up at fanmatterspod@gmail.com. Fanmatterspod@gmail.com. Check out the YouTube channel. What is it again, Dr. Brown?
It's Fan Matters Pod on YouTube.
Boom. Just it's literally just that simple. Don't forget, hit us up, questions, comments, all that kind of stuff. I feel like we're not popular enough because no one's hitting us up.
Literally no one emails us.
No one emails us.
We email each other
please.
on the Fan Matters Pod email.
Yeah. So that's about it.
It's all us from other email addresses emailing to this email. Yes.
You gotta love it. You gotta love
fine.
it. So,
everything's fine.
It's fine. Yeah,
I have a question. Are we on Apple Podcasts yet?
No, we're not. Let me just say this for all of you out there who may be thinking about getting into podcasting. You better be dope because Apple Podcast is not playing around. Apple Podcast is literally like there are 1,000,008 podcasts that are started every day, and we're only going to take like the best 2 of them. I think you have to have a certain amount of subscribers already to your podcast.
Oh, okay.
Apple Podcasts, it's like difficult to break into.
That's interesting because I've heard some really raggedy podcasts on Apple Podcasts.
It's amazing, but people like
this
raggedy.
Is probably a raggedy podcast.
People like raggedy. I'm not going to say Drink Champs. Drink Champs is not it's not a raggedy podcast like with the production values or stuff like that. Some of the stuff that they may have on there, it may seem raggedy. The content, but they have a lot of subscribers. They have a lot of subscribers. People love
because Iggas be igging.
Yeah, Iggas be right.
They have a lot of subscribers because Iggas be
a lot of subscribers because Iggas be igging. Like people love Nori, and I mean, if you get to the point where you are, like if you're a regular person, right, and you have like we are, we're just regular schmoes,
regular
schmoes. We're a little crotchety in the evening times. We can be. It depends on what my day is like, but usually at this time I am straight popping, because I don't wake up at 12. And for your information, I wake up earlier now. I have to wake up earlier now.
What time do you
take the kids to school? So now,
and then after you take them to school, what happens after that?
I literally go to work. So real quick,
what?
Hold on. There's a story behind this, right? So
it's gotta be because I have never.
So the only reason this is happening because 2 things. First of all, I love my wife dearly. I love her dearly.
Yes.
Hey Young World 07. Check us out. All right, Hey Young World. But I love my wife dearly. And so we have crafted a team concept of marriage. I don't like it when it seems like she's doing a lot. I like to keep it, on the split. It's 50-50 as much as possible, right? So so she picks him up from school, and I was like, okay, it's a new school year. I need to do better. I'm going to take them to school. Now, it also coincided with a new employee at work that we didn't want to give the keys to yet. So I had to jump school and then going straight downtown, to let the employee in. But watch this. Check this out. Check this out. Guess what?
What?
Give us free. We are free now because they have keys. They have keys. Yes. And I don't have to go into work now at 10 o'clock anymore. So I'm excited about that.
Wait,
So,
the
in
early
answer to
time
your
you were going to
question,
work was 10 o'clock?
yeah, it was early. It was too early. It was too early. So I have
Y'all
a
see my
conundrum.
point? 10
I have
o'clock.
a
Do you
conundrum.
know how much I've done by 10 o'clock?
Nothing, not that much.
A
You may
whole
get to
lot.
work. You need to stop. You need to quit. Everybody that's out there, all y'all out there that go to work and get to work at 8 o'clock, 8:30. By 10 o'clock, you have literally done 15 minutes worth of actual work. Stop tripping.
Speak
That's
for
my
yourself. Other
that
people are productive.
okay. So then here's the thing. Then you're one of those that choose to get most of it done in the first part of the day, so that the last part
Correct.
of the
And then
day
I
you
slack in
can
the
goof off.
afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. There you
Correct.
go. No one in America
Correct.
does like a real 8-hour work day. Well,
Why would
most
they?
most people don't. Most Americans don't.
I would say office workers, people who work in offices don't.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, even if you don't work in offices,
No, but I'm
you're
just
not doing it
saying, like, I
for.
think if you work in another kind of job or you're like in a service oriented job, it might be harder for you to, well, no, that's not true.
Not now. Not nowadays. Don't even talk about IT. I'm trying to break into the IT field. You work like 3 hours and you're done. You get paid $150,000 a year. I need to do
Yeah,
that
we
with my
picked
life.
here's our problem. Our problem is we decided we wanted to help people.
Yeah, that sucks.
And I mean, as a professional decision, it was really poor for both of us.
It was poor. Like literally poor. Literally.
Literally
Like
poor.
literally poor. Like
Literally, like
I
having
literally
no
just
money.
graduated from the poverty line. Like literally. So yeah. And not much above the poverty line. So yeah, for real. Yes.
But I
I'm
mean,
still trying to figure out how we're podcasting there. I don't even know how I pay for this microphone. I really don't.
kids ate noodles one week.
Yeah, grace of God. No eating out. No eating out for a month. Daddy has to get a new mic.
Daddy has to get a new mic. Oh
Daddy has
my
to get.
God.
Daddy needs a pair of
What a
headphones.
mess.
No eating out for these 2 weeks. So because
So y'all go
we
ahead.
believe. Well, I'm just saying we believe. We believe in what we're doing. We
We really
believe in
do.
what we do. Seriously, right?
We've
Seriously.
been talking about this podcast before we started it. We've been talking about this podcast for what, a couple of years probably?
Yes.
I mean, that
Yeah, we
sounds
tried it.
dramatic when I say it out loud, but
We tried it on Facebook kind of thing. And that was
what?
a bust. Yeah, we remember we
What do you
tried it.
mean? We tried it on Facebook.
I'm sorry, forgive me. We were talking about, putting it on Facebook. And what
Oh
do we do
yeah.
when we got together and tried to do a drive run? And it was like all sorts of hilarity ensued. But it was terrible. It was
It was
bad.
pretty stinky. Yeah.
Not that this is any much better, but any better, but it is better than what we had in the
It's
very
better than what
first
we originally
prototype, right? It was much better than the prototype.
It's better.
So so we've been talking about doing this for a couple of years, and so like the nature of what we do, right? I don't know about you. I think I don't like speaking for other people, but I can probably, or you will probably agree that it's really funny that we wanted to do this because the nature of what we do has us talking for a living. Both of us talk for a living, constantly. And I mean, you might say, well, most people do. No, 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 no. We,
No, you don't talk
your
as much as we
profession,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
not as much as we do, right? You don't. We, I think that our would you call what you do a profession or a vocation? I think it's really kind of both,
Yeah, I think it's both. I mean, I would say I have a profession, but the way I execute my profession is vocation, for
Right.
sure.
And so for all the viewers and listeners out there, what's the real difference, right? What's the difference between a profession and a vocation in your opinion?
Yeah, so for me, vocation is like an indication that I feel a sense of call. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not just a choice I made, but it's a path that I was like led and directed to. And also, because we're believers, a part of that for us is we really feel like what we do is a way to bring glory to God, but also that we are empowered in our work by the Holy Spirit.
Right. And a
Yeah.
profession is and hear us, right? It doesn't mean that you don't have purpose or even passion in your profession.
Right.
But by and large, profession is something that you're working a job and you're getting paid to work the job, and that's what you do. It's a 9 to 5er, kind of deal. You don't really take it home with you. I mean, everybody has problems on their job with coworkers, this and that. But I think for us the biggest difference is with a vocation, like your work never really leaves you. You're
Yeah.
constantly thinking about it.
Yeah.
You're thinking about the people that you're involved with. So
Yeah.
just like a real quick, like today, no matter where I go, I will
Yeah.
hit. I just if people know what I do, it becomes this. So it's a double-sided coin, Jess, right? Because it's one of them things like I'm just literally trying to live life and like like
Yeah.
going to doctor's appointments or being in the store or whatever, and then people just kind of like they I don't want to say pile on, but whatever problems they're going through is like boom, right? And the other part of that though is I guess I feel grateful for the fact that I
Mhm.
am approachable, that people can feel that comfortable with me, and wherever they are in life, be like, you know what, this is what I'm going through right now, and like cry in front of me,
Yeah.
cry because that's literally what happened today. It's literally what happened today. I am going to the business, minding myself, trying to have good health, going to the doctor, and boom. But these things happen. So I don't for my vocation, we talk about it, and we talk about it in the sense of um can you believe what happened today, or this is what happened, da,
Mhm.
da, da, da.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, right now, how I feel right now is grateful, grateful to
Mm.
have that sense of purpose in my
Yeah.
life. So
And I think that's a part of, like maybe this episode is the origin story of the podcast, right? Because I think a part of it really stems from us just like we're brother and sister, so we talk, we support each other. We always joke that we have ESP, so like if something's wrong with one of us, the other one will be like, what's wrong, like
yeah,
that's
just
just
call
how
out the
we
blue.
are. Right. And so I think because it's passion work for us, those lines of like, this is a conversation with my big brother and this is a conversation with a colleague in some ways, like often get really blurred. Like it's not
Mhm.
unusual for us to go from talking about a 7-Eleven hot dog to some like deep theological concepts
Which
like
are
in five
disgusting.
minutes.
They're disgusting. Number one,
Totally disgusting. Why do
the
y'all
way
eat that?
why you even put that out there, I don't know. That's
I
disgusting.
mean, I was trying to think of an extreme example, but I'm like, I think a part of why we enjoy doing this, and I think a part of why other people enjoy doing it is because this is really just like our regular conversation. And
Mhm.
because both of us really feel called to a particular vocation, I think we move in and out of it in ways that, you know, potentially are entertaining because both of us are foolish, but also
Yeah,
like just connects with
we're serious though.
people's lived experience, right? And the
Mhm.
kind of work that we do, like so much of what we do is like translation work. So I think that comes across in our conversation
Ooh,
too.
translation work that I have not heard. I was going to try to be all fancy and be like, I've never heard you use that term before, but honestly, I've never heard anybody use that term before. But I,
Translation
I, I
work?
get, yeah, I've
Mm,
never heard that term thrown around in the academic circles I'm a part of, which are really none. I'm not part of no academic circles, but I get what you're saying. I certainly get the term, and that's a so if we're talking like, okay, so let's let's dial it back, right? Let's dial
mm,
it all the way back. to 2003.
Are we about to tell this story on the
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah.
Now
So
this is the origin
this
story.
is the real origin story. So we are like, you cannot, number one, tell us that we're not brother and sister. In my funeral program, I will have listed, as his siblings. His sister is, Jessica.
And beside
J.
my name, it's
Brown.
gonna be in parentheses devoted, just so y'all know.
It is. It's not even going to be in
It better be.
parentheses, because when in parentheses is like, and by the way, no, it's going to be devoted sibling. Boom.
Devoted sibling.
Devoted.
Yes.
So we're in fact cousins.
Yeah,
And
third
like
cousins.
second cousins.
Second. No, we're third cousins because our fathers are our second cousins.
Our fathers are first cousins.
First cousins. Mm-hmm. So your dad is my second cousin, and my dad was your second cousin.
Wait a
so
minute.
We're third cousins.
That doesn't
right?
make sense to me. Yeah,
I mean, none of it makes sense.
Yeah, or is it the first cousin once removed? How does that work? I don't even know. Look,
we can just make up some stuff.
We cousins, but because we black,
our fathers were first cousins.
Right.
Our grandfathers were brothers.
Right. So I always thought that we were made as second cousins, but whatever. But for us, we don't
Clearly,
even
we don't know.
we don't call ourselves cousins. We call ourselves brother and sister because we're close. Yes. Now, the genesis of that is I was going to seminary. And I was introduced to seminary earlier in 2003 by somebody. I was at a revival or something like that with my pastor at the time, and one of the other associates of the church that we were at starts talking about the School of Theology, the Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology, Virginia Union University, and so anyway, I got in. And your dad, who I called him Uncle Barry. Sometimes I called him Pops. He worked at this, he worked at this school. That's like a whole nother podcast for another day. Seriously. So, so I remember coming down. Carlette and I we were dating at the time. We came down and we went out with Mom and Pop. And we went to American Cafe. I know.
Right. Richmonders. Do y'all remember American Cafe?
Richmond, if you listen,
that's a Richmond classic. My God.
It was a
Rest
Richmond
in peace,
classic.
American Cafe.
That pot pie or
Listen,
that puff, whatever that was, it was blessed of God.
I just pictured that when you said American Cafe.
It was blessed of God.
Lord, we thank you for the memories.
So he took us out. And we were just talking, right? He was just, putting me up on game. And as I would say, when it comes down to being in seminary and all that good stuff. Fast forward now I've gotten into the school. I have to go down to the school for orientation weekend. And I leave late. It was a 2-hour ride from where I was from. I leave late. And he calls and says, hey, we're not home, but Jess is home. Now, I hadn't seen Jess probably in about maybe 5-6 years, maybe longer. I mean,
maybe longer.
I remember her as a little girl, honestly.
Right. And I knew that I had this cousin. We don't call him Emmett in our family. We call him something else. I'm not going to say that because I don't know if he wants that on the air.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it.
So anyway, we call him something else. So I knew I had this cousin named, definitely not Emmett, something else. But if I had to pick him out of a lineup at this point, I was a junior in high school. If I had to pick him out of a lineup, it would not have happened. So y'all should know that for the next part of the story where he's about to try to throw me under the bus. As is a common occurrence on this podcast, if you all haven't noticed. Carry on, brother.
I have been in a lineup because I get there after dark. And I go up to the house, doop, I got my stuff I'm going to the house.
He's got bags, and he's staying there.
Honestly, right? I thought she was going to be so excited, to see her big cousin. And I was going to be so excited to see my little cuz and all that, so I ring the doorbell. She comes to the door and, of course, there's a screen door. So she opens the door, a storm door, excuse me. It's a storm door. She opens the door and she's like, who are you? And I lied to you not. I lie to you not. Our faithful, devoted audience and those that are listening right now, she asked me to see my ID
I
before she would
absolutely
let me in
did.
the door.
I
A
sure did.
wonderful practice for a teenager at home, but for someone who's supposed to be blood, it hurt my feelings.
Listen, I don't remember my parents saying to me, like, your cousin Emmett is coming. Now, knowing my parents, I can't imagine that they didn't do that. But all I remember, in my defense, number one, I was in high school. I was home alone. It was dark. And this man just like comes to the door like he's about to come in.
Yeah, because I'm like, can you let me in? And she's like, who are you? I need to see some
I need to
ID.
see some ID. I sure did.
So,
but he had the appropriate identification. After which, I let him in the house.
She let me in the house.
Well, that ends well.
Well, and it was right, because I'll never forget this. You were watching Will and Grace, a show I hated, and I think I was sitting there just kind of watching it with you until they got home. And once again, it was a weekend kind of thing. So
yeah,
I went
it was
to
like
class.
A Thursday night or Friday night.
Well, that was a Thursday night. Will and Grace came on Thursday night. Thursday night, that Friday, I went to school, and went to the orientation, and I got back to the house. You had gotten home from school, and I was like, I didn't know Richmond or anything like that, right? So I don't even know how we decided to go to the mall. I have no idea.
But Richmonders, we went to Virginia Center Commons. Rest in peace, Virginia Center Commons.
And on that day,
that's when it happened.
In August of 2003.
2003. The world was forever changed.
Was born. The world was forever changed. We spent almost the remainder of the day in the mall talking about people.
We did. I mean, we literally sat down on a bench to observe. And after that, it was like, that scene in Step Brothers? They're like, did we just become best friends? It was like that.
Right. It was like that. Did we just become best friends? Yep. Yep.
It was literally like that.
It was literally like that. Literally like that. So, just when I say, so all throughout my seminary career, I bounced back, really honestly bounced back and forth from staying in the dorm to staying at the house, at you guys' house. And the funny thing is, I think they actually, because of our class, they decided to not have students.
Yeah, they basically said, we can't trust these fools with living in this building.
It wasn't
they
our class
torn it up,
but the whole dormitory program was shut down shortly thereafter our class.
Yeah, that's true.
So a few years after our class. So anyway, there was a time with the water main break. So this is true.
A lot.
The water main break happened, and my room got affected. And it was serious, but it wasn't that bad, right? And I was like, I'm done. I'm moving out.
He literally never went back. He just lived with us from then on.
So I lived at the house. I lived at the house. Really, almost for just about the remainder of my seminary career. I went back to school, back and forth. They finally fixed my room. I stayed there every now and then, but like I could not get those collard greens that Pop cooked anywhere else. And you know what?
And the jambalaya.
During that time, my godbrother died. And that very morning, before I went up, and I didn't know it at the time, because they called me the night before, and then I was going to go up that morning, and that morning before I left, Pops fixed me breakfast. I saw it's all these wonderful memories that I have, putting together a couple of Miles bookcases downstairs in the basement, watching.
Which this is one of them, by the way.
Yes, it is the brown bookcase. Yep, that's right. I put that together. Yeah,
y'all see, look at those good putting together skills. All these years later, still on the strong.
That's not real wood.
Absolutely not.
Compressed wood.
It's manufactured in many ways.
With an Allen wrench and the screws and you can do it. If I can do it, then
You can do it too.
but it still lasts. It still
It still
lasts.
lasts. It's still
Now,
standing. It's holding many books.
here is the other thing that happened at the house. A very, very integral conversation for the trajectory of my romantic life
I
was
remember this night.
my sister, Dr. Jessica Young Brown. My sister had a come to Jesus meeting with me about my girlfriend at the time, Carletta, one half, the better half of Hey Young World. And I don't exactly remember what you said. I do remember that it had some profanity in it.
I was fed up. I really was. Because in my mind, I was like, listen, I love her. And if you this up, then I won't be able to be friends with her anymore. And I'm not okay with that. So that was my main motivation.
It was your main motivation. And it was because of that night. It was because of that night. I really realized what God had given to me. I really realized. Now, I'm a serial monogamist. I've never, been the type to step out on girlfriends and anything like that. So it wasn't like there was somebody else knocking on the door. It was nothing like that. It was just me. I guess being immature, if you will, not processing that as I should have. But if it had not been for you, and I'm not going to say if it had not been for you, we would not have gotten married, but it very, very possibly, if it had not been for you, we might not have gotten married when we got married. Or if it had not been for you, she might have gotten fed up and been like, I'm out, and we wouldn't have gotten married. So
Carletta was long suffering. I'll say that.
She was long
really
suffering.
was.
But we can't get into that because we have to tell our
that's for
origin
the other
story
podcast. Yeah.
on the other podcast. Right. So
and I'll say at the time, like I remember that conversation. And I also just want to reflect like how ridiculous it was that I was so young and clearly had no idea what I was talking about. So, I mean, that's like further indication. It was just our connection though. It was like, I know my brother, I know how much he loves this woman and I see him struggling, so it was that. But like, I didn't know anything about relationships to be like giving you advice. Like that part is kind of goofy, but you know.
Didn't. But I listened to you because you've always been wise beyond your years and smarter than me. So I can cop to that. And
I know you. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I know you.
Yeah. So that's the forging of our relationship, and many years and situations and children and careers later, vocation later, here we are. So it's like all those major moments from graduations, and once again, marriage, childbirth, all those kinds of things. Sheesh, when you have somebody to share those moments with, as a sibling, it's a God ordained, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And we talked. You said something earlier that made us think about. I think made us both think about this, and that is, once we said we talk for a living, and we talk to people and all that. And when we talk, we talk, and sometimes I feel like I'm abusing your vocation. And I'm like, wait,
he's saying this really diplomatically because he also accuses me of mothering him like every day.
She does. You've seen it on the podcast. It happens. It happens. And we used to call Ma. We used to make fun of Ma and call her, Hail Mary, full of grace.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
So,
Mary, the mother of grace and mercy.
Mary, the mother of grace and mercy. So just the fact that you tried to mother me, I just really kind of wanted to stab you in the kneecap that night, but we weren't anywhere close to one another.
So rude. Yeah. So rude.
Now you do know what I would do if we were close to one another. You know what I would do. So yeah,
he pinches my arm fat. Why do y'all torture your siblings?
Because it's fun.
Rude.
Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe button on the YouTube
This is a
channel.
mess.
It's a hot mess.
But listen, if you enjoy the podcast, what's your feeling of love? Because we love each other a whole lot.
A whole lot. You can't stop that. And all I can say is that this is what we have for our podcast, and that's about it.
Y'all wanted an episode so bad, and here you are.
There you go. You got it.
Where it
You
all
got it.
began.
There is no Saved by the Bell moment here. There's no after school special moment here. It is literally just us telling this story and laughing about the fact that God does amazing things in really funny ways. That's just what it is.
That's what
And
it
so
boils down to.
when we call ourselves Fan Matter, like faith and mess, like we talk about the mess that exists in church and all that, but like we're mostly talking about us because we are faithful and we can be.
We are so messy.
You gotta laugh at yourself,
We're so
right?
messy.
It's so it's so
But that,
messy.
I mean, most people are, like we're
Yeah.
just willing to talk about it and record it. But
I mean,
life is messy, and we're here to talk about it.
it is. It's very messy. It's messy. It's ugly. And I will say this, not trying to, like I said, not trying to be after schoolish or anything like that, but like I said, our vocations and professions allow us the opportunity to be at the crossroads of people's lives that they let us in.
Yeah.
I never forget your father, Pop. He said something that it stays with me. He said we talk about preaching that the preacher must be arrogant to think that when they open their mouth, the oracles of God, come out, and yet we do it every Sunday. But it's almost like in saying that, it has to be a check up for ourselves that we must be humble, in what we do. And it's not just our mouths, but it's our ears too that we use. It's our ears that there's a humility that we must have in listening to people and people's stories and people's struggles, because it's in those places that I really do think that God, ordains people to be good listeners, to be good hearers, and to help people with their problems. That's what you do every day. You're in the trenches every day. You're in the trenches. I'm in the trenches. We're in different. It's like the same war but different trenches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and I think that's actually kind of the cool part of the trajectory of our lives, and it also has led us to this place. So that's dope.
I think that's the final word, brother.
Well, don't forget, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button. Once again, hit us at fammatterspod@gmail.com, fammatterspod@gmail.com. We'll be back again with an actual topic, and not just
one of us will like read something or look at something, but in case y'all wondered, how did these sort of cousins become siblings and decide to do a podcast? Your burning questions have now been answered. So there you go.
Boom. Boom. Well, I'm Emmett Young and Dr. Jessica Young Brown. It's been Fan Matters. It's been real. Thank you for listening, y'all. We love you. Peace.
Bye.